In lesson 2.1b, we're going to continue from lesson 2.1a, where we were looking at evaluating expressions. However, in this video, we're going to specifically look at tips, tricks, and cautions with two expression types, that is exponential and radical. So we're going to look at the issues and the tricks and cautions associated with evaluating those types of expressions. So let's start with an exponential. I've got evaluate 4 times 5 to the 2x minus 3 plus 23, and I'm supposed to evaluate that at x equals 4. Now, I got to be very careful how I do this. Specifically how I use my calculator to do this. Okay, and then also order of operations. So let me take this 4 and plug it in for the x where it goes. So I've got 4 times 5 to the 2 times 4 minus 3 plus 23. Now, if you choose to do this piece by piece, to do one piece at a time, you're going to do something to the effect of 2 times 4 is 8, and then 8 minus 3 is 5. So you'd rewrite this as something like 4 times 5 to the 5th plus 23. So you simplified the exponential piece first, and you got a 5 out of it. Now the next question then is, what's the next step? There's two things that people do here. One is correct, one is not correct. The question is, do I do the 4 times 5 first, or do I do the 5 to the 5th power first? Order of operations says I always do exponents before I do multiplication. So that means I've got to do 5 to the 5th power first. 5 to the 5th power becomes 3,125 plus 23. So I've got 4 times 3,125 plus 23. Now from here we know that multiplication comes before addition, so let's go ahead and do that multiplication. We've got 3,125 times 4, and then we're getting 12,500 plus 23. And when we do that, we get 12,523. So here is the simplified, reduced form of that equation, or that expression rather, when we evaluate it at x equals 4. Now some of you are going to adopt the method of plugging the entire equation at once into your calculator. So we've got 4 times 5 to the 2 times 4 minus 3 plus 23. Now, those of you with a newer calculator, TI-84, that's a newer one, when you do this in your calculator, you'll type in 4, parenthesis, 5, close the parenthesis, and then you'll hit your little caret button. The caret button is the button that looks like that. And it'll automatically put you up here in the exponent location. And in that location, you can do your 2 times 4 minus 3. To get back down to the base area, to do the plus 23, you have to hit your right arrow. You have to hit the right arrow in order to get back down to the base level where you're going to write your plus 23. Now those of you with your older calculator, maybe a TI-83 or an older TI-84, when you hit this caret button right here, it doesn't pop you up into the superscript location. What it does is it gives you 4 times 5, and when you hit that caret button, it just does the caret. We need to make sure that it is recognizing everything that we want to be in the exponent location. So what you have to do is you have to put everything that you intend to be the exponent in parentheses. So caret, parenthesis, 2, parenthesis 4 for 2 times 4, minus 3, close parenthesis. So that way it treats all of this right here as the exponent. And then once you've closed that parenthesis off, you can do your plus 23. So when we do that in our calculator, 4 times 5, close parenthesis, to the power of 2 times 4 minus 3, back down to the normal base area, plus 23. Sure enough, we get 12,523, just like we did the first time through, but doing it piece by piece. So pay attention to those tricks and tips and cautions when evaluating exponential expressions. Now the next and last expression that we want to make sure we understand the tips, tricks, and cautions with is a radical expression. So we've got one right here. It says evaluate 5 times the square root of 4t plus 6 minus 18 at t equals 23. So let's go ahead and plug 23 in. That is 5 times the square root of 4 times 23 plus 6 minus 18. Now, you can plug this whole thing into your calculator at once, but I'm going to recommend that you don't, because in the directions in the homework packet, you're asked to evaluate, but leave it as an exact solution, no decimal approximations. And so if you plug this into your calculator, more often than not, it's going to be a decimal that you get out, but we're not supposed to get decimal approximations. So I want to simplify this piece by piece, specifically under the radical first. So I'm going to rewrite this as 5 times the square root of, and I'm going to do 4 times 23 plus 6, and I end up with 98. 5 times the square root of 98 minus 18. Now, if you try to do the square root of 98 in your calculator, you'll end up with 9.899494937 ... We don't want that. We don't want a decimal approximation. So we're simply going to simplify this or reduce it as much as possible. So let's take a look at this 98. What could we split 98 up into? Let's see, it's an even number, so 98 divided by 2, that splits up into 49 times 2. Oh, and then 49 splits up into 7 times 7. So I've got 7 times 7 times 2. Now it's a square root, so I'm looking for pairs. I've got a pair of 7s, so a 7 can come out of the radical. There's already a 5 there, so really it's 5 times the 7 that's coming out. That leaves me with 35 times the square root of, what's left over? The 2 is left over. So 35 times the square root of 2 minus 18. And since I don't want any decimal approximations, this is where I have to stop. There's nothing else I can take out of the radical, and there's nothing else I can combine because I still have a radical left. So this is where we stop. This is the exact simplified solution without getting decimal approximations. Now we could do 35 times the square root of 2 in our calculator minus 18, and I end up with 31.49747 ... There's the decimal approximation. That's what we'll do if this were an application or a word problem. Okay? But it's a generic problem, and on those in the homework packet, we want to leave it in this exact form. So I'd recommend doing the radicals by hand for exact form, or step by step rather, for exact form. And then if it's an application problem, go ahead and plug it in all in your calculator. The last thing I want to mention to you is that some of the problems are third roots. Question is, where's the third root in your calculator? Okay. On the left-hand side, the left-hand column of your calculator, you have your second button. Underneath that is your alpha button. And right underneath that is a button that says math on it. So underneath second alpha, and then there's math. If you hit the math button, you'll see a couple headings come up: math, num, complex, ... There's a couple more. And underneath math, you'll see a bunch of options: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth. You'll see that option number 4 looks like this: third root. Okay, so go to math, hit your math button, and then option number 4, scroll down to it and hit enter again, and it'll put this symbol on the main screen for you so that you can do a third root.